No report.
No.
Mr. Hewitt, Public Works Director, any?
No report.
Okay. All right, we'll move on. We have no old business, no new business. At this time, I'll open it up to the floor for any business from the floor regarding utilities. Any business from the floor? No business from the floor. This meeting's adjourned. We'll move into the council meeting.
I'd like to call the town council meeting for January 20th at 7:15. We'll accept the roll call from the utility board. Minutes of the December 9, 2020 and December 30th, 2020 public meeting. The pleasure of the board.
So moved.
We have a motion
Second.
and we have a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 5-0. Any additional claims, Mr. Troxel?
No additional claims, Mr. President.
Thank you, sir. Pleasure of the board.
Move to approve claims.
We have a motion.
Second with discussion.
Second with discussion. Go ahead.
Question in regard to claim F, various funds, Wright Riley Construction Company. What is this for?
That's for the CCG projects?
So all the paving that happened second half of last year?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, that's part of 2020-1. So we got $2 million, but we only completed part of it. The other part will be done this year.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 5-0. Reports, Mr. Volkman?
Yes, I have two reports, Mr. Chairman. I received a letter from the Safety Village for their annual donation. The request this year is the same as last year, $27,500.
Thank you. Any other reports? Hearing none?
I have one other report. That, for your consideration, the Safety Village, that would require a motion and action on your part to make that donation to the Safety Village.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Smith?
Mr. President? Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to send our annual payment to the Safety Village for the operation of $27,500, which is the same amount that we've paid for the last couple of years.
Okay.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 5-0.
Mr. Chairman, I have one other request for the council. Last year, the county commissioners deeded a property off of Austin Avenue. It was called Sheila Drive. It was in the county commissioners, one of the properties they own. It's actually a driveway for residents that's back behind the houses that face Austin Drive. A gentleman by the name of Mr. Kistler. The property is of no value to the town, and I would like the town council to consider deeming the property as of no value so that we could process it with Attorney Austin. We could process transferring that property to Mr. Kistler.
Do I have a motion?
I would make a motion to deem the property at issue here as no value and to allow council and manager and the council president, if needed, to execute any documents necessary to transfer that property over to Mr. Kistler.
Okay, we have a motion,
I'll second that.
and we have a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 5-0.
And I believe Mr. Gordon has a report here.
Mr. Gorman, did you have something?
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, I just wanted to give a brief update on what went on in the Building and Planning Department for the year 2020. We had a total of 1,396 permits come through our office for a construction value of $60,498,650. Majority of the costs were residential homes at $37 million. We had a lot with the pandemic going on. We had a lot of permits for fences, decks, pools. So that brought up our value, that number, and also had 47 businesses also went out of business in 2020 in the town, but we got 57 new businesses. so a little bit better than a wash. And businesses vary from hair salons, nail salons, mortgage companies, construction, all over the place. And also the residential subdivisions going in, just wanted to touch on those briefly. We had Amberley Estates, just on the east side of town. We had, that was a 70-lot subdivision. 65 of those have been permitted already. So there's only 5 lots left in there to be built out and permitted. Burr Ridge, on the east side of town here, south of 30, that's a 100-lot subdivision. We've already approved 25 house permits, so that's a 4-phase project. We're in phase 2 currently, phase 1 and 2. And then there's a small subdivision going in with the name of Bailey's Cove over by the Peace Lutheran property, south of 30, west of Anna. That's a small 8-lot subdivision, and we've had 1 permit issued for that property. And as far as construction projects going on, the major one is the Oak Street development, which will be property that there will be 3 restaurants on that property so far. And that's the end of my report. If anybody has any questions.
Any questions, board members?
One question, you might not have this information, Jim, but the permit revenue, any comparison to 2019?
I do not have that on
Okay,
hand,
just
sorry.
curious. All right, thank you, Jim. Great report.
Nice report, Jim, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Any council members?
Chief Patterson raises his
Oh,
hand.
I'm
He had
sorry,
a
Chief, go
report.
ahead.
Good evening. I just want to give a real quick report that for the month of December 2020, Sherville Fire Department ran 355 calls. Totaling for the year of 2020, we had 3,775 total ambulance and fire calls, which is 132 calls increase from the year 2019. As of today, for the month of January, we're right at 238 calls as of today. So obviously our calls are increasing and constantly keep busy.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Good
Thank
job,
you.
as always. Council members?
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Schmidt.
yes, I'd like to bring up an item. It has to do with the pay for the COVID pay. As you know, the federal government had the CARES Act that was extended out to each state, and then each state distributed it out to the towns and cities. And the actual CARES Act expired on December 31st. And this actually covers our employees that have caught the virus and is off with the COVID, and the people that are quarantined because of people in their household with COVID and stuff. So those people have to stay home for 2 weeks, and so all the year of 2020, we have paid them the 2 weeks of pay as they've been quarantined. And I would like our council until hopefully the next, I assume there's going to be a new CARES Act that comes out, but I would like to extend that policy to March 31st so it covers our employees that are off sick with the virus. And this would, of course, would be retroactive to January 1st.
Okay.
I'd like that to be in a motion.
All right, thank you, Mr. Schmidt.
I'll second that.
I hear a second.
Discussion, please.
Okay. Ms.
I just want to
Kayla.
make sure it's clear, Tom. Your motion is not to establish a policy that everyone who has COVID or is quarantined from COVID contact tracing, they automatically stay home 2 weeks. That policy is set by the CDC and health departments. Your motion is in regard to the compensation for whatever time they have to take off of work as a result of us telling them they can't come into work, right?
And that would be correct, but to follow the previous CARES Act, the maximum was 80 hours of pay.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're following the CARES Act, basically extending what the CARES Act told us and through the end of the quarter. We're not creating our own new policy, just making sure.
That's correct.
All right, thank you, Tom. Thanks.
Mr. Troxel, is that how you understand it also?
Yes, I mean, if we've already paid somebody already for their COVID off, do you want to pay them again for a second time? Probably not, I'm guessing. It's just if they get the COVID for the first time, that they can get reimbursed for their time off based on the rules of the CDC that they follow to be off.
That's correct, and to go along with what Caleb said, I believe that wording is in the CARES Act. So as long as we follow that, I think we'll be okay.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Anything else from council members?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Mr. Chairman, please.
Mr. Schmidt.
Mr. Volkman, will you be able to pass that on to, well, I'm sorry, Mr. Troxel can pass that on to the payroll department.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And is there a deadline or expiration date for your motion?
Yes, March 31st.
It was through the end of the quarter.
Through the end of the quarter, okay.
Okay, at this time, I will take any public comments regarding the agenda items tonight. Public comments regarding agenda items. Okay, hearing none, we will now close the floor. There is no old business, so under new business, ordinance number 1962 is an ordinance amending town zoning ordinance number 1797 as amended, the same being an ordinance classifying, regulating, and restricting the local height, area, bulk, and use of buildings and structures, and the use of land in the town of Schererville, and for said purposes, dividing the town into the districts and all matters related thereto. Planning Commission Case 20-12-19, location 7095 Burr Street, rezone for residential R1 to residential planned units. Development PUD to include 1 or 2 family dwelling units. Planning Commission favorable recommendation was 4-3. Mr. Volkman?
Mr. Ed Breckenwall from Altoff, the petitioner, is here. I don't know if you want to hear him tonight.
It's fine.
I have a couple of handouts, if that's okay.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, council members. My name is Ed Rechtenwall. I'm here tonight representing Old Top Homes and the Canyon Creek project. We are seeking a rezone from R1 to PUD on the parcel represented here on the drawing that I handed out to you just a few minutes ago. This parcel is located north of Burr Street, or north of 30 on Burr Street, east of the Prairie Estates and the Foxwood subdivisions, north of there. It represents, as a whole, 110 acres. We worked with the Plan Commission over the last year on trying to develop a site plan and conceptual plan for this site, which is unique in character and nature. As you can see from the conceptual plan that's before you, there is quite a bit of detention, storage, and floodplain on this particular parcel. In that regard, we decided to come into the town with a PUD and kind of a mixed residential use project. This project and conceptual plan represents 179 single-family detached homes and 30 single-family attached homes. The single-family attached homes are represented kind of by the salmon color along the west edge here. So those are 30 units. It aligns with Prairie Estates, which is also a single-family attached zoned project. We felt that zoning coincided well with the project. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. We're very excited about this project. We feel it provides some unique character to the town of Schererville, and we'd be very excited to be back in Schererville with some residential product.
Ed, you said it's 179 single homes?
It's 179 single-family detached homes and only 30 single-family attached homes.
And what are the size of the lots of the single-family homes?
The single-family detached homes range in lot sizes from 60-foot wide to 80-foot wide.
Thank you.
Ed, Mr. President, I don't see a park in here. Is there a reason there's no park in your development?
We did not provide park. We do have quite a bit of open space as it relates to the natural floodplain and the drainage facilities. Given the fact that there's a park located at 65th Street and also in the Foxwood subdivision, we are proposing more passive amenities. So we are proposing a paved trail system through the project, which would interconnect those two parks. Along that paved trail facility would be fitness stations, seating areas, some passive amenity type features. The project will also provide contribution to the park impacts fee, and so we can use those funds to enhance those parks at 65th and Foxwood.
That park impact fee, that's statutory, right?
Goes directly to the park improvement fund.
Right, but that's statutory, so that's not a contribution. That's something that we have adopted. They're going to pay either way.
No, we adopted, that's done by the impact study, and it's done by local ordinance. What's the current impact fee, John? 23? 2,300 a unit.
And price range? Price range?
Price range? Yes. So the lots represented by the green color would be somewhere between $315,000 to $375,000. The lots represented by the yellowish color, we are estimating those to be somewhere between $275,000 and $325,000. The lots represented by the orange coloring would be somewhere in the range of $250,000 to $300,000. And the salmon color, again, the paired attached units, we are estimating somewhere between $215,000 and $265,000.
Okay, thank
Again,
you.
these are all estimates and base
Sure.
costs.
Okay.
All right, thank you. I don't have any questions.
Mr. President?
Yes, Mr. Schmidt.
Ed, is there some of these sections of this subdivision that you feel is required to build the different variety that you're building? Because of the land usage?
This is definitely a unique piece of property. As mentioned, there is some floodplain located on the site. We did quite a bit of due diligence on the project, which included soil borings throughout. Those borings indicate, in some instances, high water tables and not so good soils. So we cited this project and kind of put this plan together based on those indicators. So the orange and yellow and salmon colors represent a slab type product, is what we're estimating those to be. Again, because of soil types and consistencies and water table on the project site. The greenish color, again, the 80-foot wide kind of single-family lots, given the borings that we took, they're more conducive to the basement-style home. So yes, we did. The site did kind of lend itself to a certain type of product and layout, and that's what we are representing here with the conceptual drawing.
So you could confirm then that there's some of the lots here couldn't stabilize a normal single-family home. The green section, the 80-foot lots, because most people in today's world that has a single-family home, they either want a basement or they want a two-story or so on. Is that correct to say?
Yes, I mean, we picked certain areas for basements and single-family style homes. These other areas are for, targeting different demographics. So, the smaller lots would be a slab product for a villa-style home. We have a brand-new villa line. I hope that answers your question.
I think where the villas are, is that all you're saying could go there, was that style of home?
The majority of the area, yes.
Gotcha.
But the soil, forgive me for interrupting, Tom, I apologize, but the soil doesn't determine the size of the lot. You could put an 80-foot lot there and still put a full-size home there, correct?
Yes, correct.
All right. So the soil
But-
isn't determinative of what size lot and what size home goes there.
Yeah, but my argument, my question on that is not too many, I can't see putting a $315,000 to $375,000 home on a slab. And that's what you, if you made all that area that can't handle it soil-wise, you're not gonna be able to build the normal 80-foot single-family homes like he has in the green area there in the color.
Where the
The
ordinance.
house sizes would be varying at that point. I mean, the lot may be 80 foot wide, but the home size and style would definitely vary. I mean, some of those would not lend itself to a basement. And I guess, Mr. Schmidt would be correct that, obviously adjusting houses and sizes and features are going to adjust pricing as well, so.
So we'd have some variety to the homes, but the lots would be the same size then, and we would have a lower density.
Yes, I mean, the site is at 1.9, and I believe prior to this being annexed, the future land use was somewhere between 2. So,
That 1.9 is somewhat deceptive in my mind because it seems like it includes all that wetland area, the retention area. When you look at the comprehensive plan, that area isn't buildable anyways. I mean, my understanding, and it's designated as green space or wetland space, and I don't think it should be included in that calculation when you're calculating density. I did the recalculation. I'm over three units per acre when you take out that 39 acres of water retention area.
Sure.
And when I look at the comprehensive plan, it also shows an extension of the Foxwood North Park all the way along the east side of the development, which would lend itself to a buffer between Schererville subdivision and Maryville subdivision, if there is one that's going to be developed over there. We don't know what kind of development's going to come in there. It could be apartments, could be any number of things. Could be a junkyard for all we know.
And we're not opposed to extending that green space as necessary if that is what we feel that, the future land use plan was intended to do. This again is a conceptual plan, so there is room still for adjustment with those areas.
Any other discussion?
Mr. President,
Yes, Ms. Robin.
as councilwoman for this ward, and this development is in my ward, in light of some things we were discussing tonight, I would feel comfortable if we could table this until the next meeting, until I have some more information, so I feel like I can adequately vote for this. So I'm asking to table this.
Okay, we have a motion
Second.
and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Motion carries 3-0. I mean 3-2 with the nay.
Thank you, council members.
Okay. Ordinance number 1963 is an ordinance annexing certain contiguous land to the town of Schererville, Lake County, Indiana, and all matters related to. This is first reading. Mr. Volkman.
This is just an introduction. This is a piece in Auburn Scenic Meadows off of 41. You remember we did one a couple years ago where the gentleman wanted to hook in to our utilities, and he annexed into town. We have the same thing. This is actually his next door neighbor.
This is behind American Community Bank?
Yes, off of 80th there.
And so it's contiguous to our already annexed properties,
Correct.
and it's for the purpose of connecting to our utilities?
Extending the utilities through his property and connecting.
And it's not a plan for some sort of development or anything along those lines? It's just a single-family home?
It's a single-family house existing.
Mr. President?
Yes, Mr. Schmidt.
Yeah, Mr. Volkman, I have a question too. Does this particular house, I can't remember the exact addresses in there, is this a house that backs up to Route 41? Or backs up to
Yeah, it does. It backs up to a house in Schererville, and then there's Scherville to the east of it as well.
Okay.
But it does not back up to 41.
No, backs up to another subdivision.
It backs up to another subdivision.
So in that street, then, this is one of the houses that are on the curve that runs east and west?
Well, it runs east and west.
Correct.
That's
Okay. Thank you.
on the north side of the subdivision.
Correct.
That's correct.
Mr. President, I make a motion to to approve ordinance 1963 on a first reading, annexing certain contiguous land to the town of Schererville, Lake County, Indiana, and all matters related thereto. Petitioner Timothy Foley, location 11245 West 80th Court.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second that.
Second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Mr. President, can we adopt that, Mr. Austin?
No.
You have a public hearing coming up next month,
Okay,
and that's what the statutory time.
that's correct. Thank you.
Okay, Resolution 2021-1 is a resolution authorizing and approving the entry into a joint corporation agreement with the town of St. John, Indiana, for mutual use and personal assistance for building inspections, permit review service between the towns of Schererville, Indiana, and the town of St. John, Indiana in 2021, and all matters related thereto. Mr. Volkman?
Yes, this is a joint interlocal agreement between the two towns to share building inspection services. We used it a little more often in the past, probably 5-6 years ago, but currently the ordinance we have to renew every year, so that's why it's on your agenda. And last year, there was a time when St. John's building inspector was down, I think, with a medical issue of some sort, and we backed them up. They do the same for us. If we would have a problem with inspection services, they back us up. So it's basically we bill each other and kind of true up at the end of the year, first of the year. It's not really it doesn't really cost us anything, but it provides us the coverage we need.
Okay, very good. Pleasure of the board?
Mr.
President,
Yes, Mr. Caleb.
motion to approve resolution authorizing and approving the entry into a joint interlocal cooperation agreement with the town of St. John for mutual use and personal assistance for building inspection and permit review services between town of Schererville and the town of St. John, Indiana in 2021, and all matters related thereto. That's resolution 2021-1, our first one this year.
Yes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 5-0. Consider acceptance of attorney contract between Austrian Kuiper Decidus PC and the town of Schererville. Mr. Volkman?
I don't know about this one.
Must have been reading
Plug your
my
ears so we could talk.
This is the annual contract for legal services for the council and for utility board and redevelopment commission for the town.
Okay. Pleasure of the council.
And just for point of discussion, the rates are the same, and it's capped, right, Dave? So the
Nice try.
rates are the same, though, right?
Only capped by work performance.
It's not all pro bono, Dave? Okay. I'll make the motion to accept the contract.
All right, we have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. President, for the record, only change in this contract is the dates. Only change.
We knew that, that's why we didn't mention anything,
I got it.
because we did look that over very thoroughly.
Well, you should.
I made a lot of red lines.
Okay. Consider release of a 2-year maintenance surety and issuance of certificate of release for the following developments: Moody Dental and Whisper and Bridge Unit 3. Mr. Volkman.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is a ministerial function. Both of these developments have gone through their maintenance period. Public Works has inspected them. All of the improvements are in order, and it is appropriate to release their maintenance bond.
Pleasure of the board.
So moved?
Second.
A motion and a second, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 5-0. Consideration and adoption of the Town of Schererville Capital Improvement Plan for 2021-2022. Mr. Volkman?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is a requirement annually. It's pretty much the same as it was last year, but it does require your action.
Pleasure of the board.
Mr. President, I move to approve the adoption of the Town of Schererville's capital improvement plan for 2021-2022.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second with discussion,
Go ahead,
please.
Caleb.
Mr. Town Manager, why isn't it more specific on what we're planning to do for 2021, 2022? I mean, it seems so vague. Is there a reason?
It just, basically, it meets the statutory requirement.
It's just a formality so that we can get that CCG grant. Is that right?
That's
Okay.
correct.
Okay. No further discussion. Thank you.
Then all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Consider acceptance of donations of $2,657.16. Mr. Troxel, will you be so kind to read the donations?
Yes, Mr. President. The donation accepted for the month of December ending 12/31 of '20, we received from the Park Department, we received 2 donations, one from Eva Lambert for a donation for a bench, $809, and also we received from Madeline St. Gelia, a donation for a bench also for $810. Total park donations, $1,619. To the Animal Control Fund, we received from Amazon donations an in-kind contribution of $238.16. Also received from Heidi D. Shirley a monetary donation of $250. Total donations to the Animal Control Fund is $488.16. To the Fire Department, Jeff and Myrna Horvat gave an in-kind gift donation card of $50. Donations to the Police Fund, United Federal Credit Union gave $500 for police equipment. Recapping, total in-kind donations, $288.16. Total monetary donations, $2,369, for a total donation of $2,657.16.
Thank you, Mr. Troxel. Pleasure of the board.
Motion to accept the donations?
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. At this time, I will take any business from the floor. Any business from the floor? Any business from the floor?
Before you adjourn, can I ask one other thing? It brought it to my attention just when you mentioned, Mr. Troxel, the donations to the animal control. Somebody had mentioned to me once, and it's not actually a question for you, it might be a question for Pete Sormaz, Chief Sormaz. Do volunteers to the animal control, do they have to go through a training? What's the process, and is it difficult in order to become a volunteer to the animal control? Because I had heard that it was very difficult and that it was a process that was making it kind of turn volunteers away, I guess.
Oh, no, indeed, most of it.
Not at all. The volunteers are more than welcome. We would love a program like that, and I spoke with Bob Volkman just here a couple months ago to put out something publicly in regards. There was some misunderstanding. We do have a volunteer and policing program that requires a minimum amount of hours that the volunteers have to perform prior to being put into that position. The VIPS officers, that's completely different, but we don't have any stipulations at this time for the volunteers that we plan on for the volunteers at the animal shelter.
So in order to volunteer at the animal shelter, you don't have to become a VIPS or
No, not at
go
all.
through that same
Not
training?
at all, no,
I
no.
think previously, they had to go through the same training. That was where the stumbling block was. But I worked with Pete and
We've eliminated that step or that
For
requirement.
animal control, come on.
But although some confusion came in, like Bob said, we do have the VIPs go down to animal control and see how the operations are performed daily in case we do need them down there, but there's no direct connection or requirement. So we were planning on putting something here. COVID slowed down a lot of our operations at this town and at this time, and I was going to work with Bob here in the near future and the council as well. We can open it up to the public and put something out for volunteers.
Perfect. Thank you. I just want to make that clarification.
Absolutely,
I've had a couple people ask me about it, and I didn't know the answer. So.
Also, I did, coincidentally, the past couple months, some questions regarding 2 volunteers down there.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, Pete, and to follow up on that, if you're looking for volunteers for animal control, you could put together a little article and send it to Luann. She'll put it in the newsletter.
Absolutely, yes. We're going to put that together with our annual reports. We're finalizing some of that stuff and getting some points together.
Okay.
So, most definitely.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Okay, for the third time, any business from the floor? Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned.